What's going on, guys? What's cracking? As you see from the title of this video, it is assembly time for Colton's car. So Colton's right here. We got Colton Glunt, the man, the myth, the legend. We're gonna start assembling his NAT build. I'm trying to make this as detailed as possible. If I miss anything, please try and correct me. But this should be pretty detailed. We're gonna start with the rear main seal, then we're gonna work up to the oil pump, then the water pump, then we're gonna do the oil pan, and then we're gonna put the head on. The reason for doing this is because that's the way I like to do it. You don't have to do it that way per se, but that's how we're gonna be starting it out today. So if you guys would like to follow along, pay attention and see how this goes. So first up is the rear main seal. So everything is off. We got the back of it here. See, it's all cleaned up back here. You scrape it as best you can because we are keeping a stock block. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do here is you're gonna order 2 parts. Now, the retainer, technically you don't have to order, but it's so cheap, it saves you so much headache. Just buy a new retainer and just save yourself all the headache. And then you also wanna buy a new seal. The retainer and seal part numbers are right there. You guys can pause the video and get those part numbers yourself. I'm not gonna read them out for you. And I'm gonna kinda keep that trend for the rest of these videos too. So if you see the part numbers, just pause the video, you'll be able to figure it out. So the first thing you need to do is we need to put this seal into it. Now, before we do anything though, it needs to go in somewhat flat, okay? So you wanna try and keep it around and you wanna make sure it goes in and just lines up with the lip. You don't wanna beat it down so it's past this lipped area. If you see underneath here, see that little grooved area underneath? You don't wanna go past that. You're supposed to get the top of this flush with the top of the metal piece. So that's the end goal. You just go around slowly tapping and tapping and tapping till it becomes flush. So what I usually do, guys, is take the seal like so. If you showed it, so I can show it here at the edge. We try to get it flat, so if you wanna move it around a little bit more, Colton there, so it tries to get around, because we don't wanna bend it. So you wanna try and get it flat the whole way around. And then what I do is I flip it upside down. Let me see it here. Let's take a look. Looks decent. Now flip it upside down there, Colton. And what I do here is I try to put some of my weight on it. So Colton, could you please put your weight on it there and press down as hard as you can? It's not gonna be ideal. It's not gonna be perfect, I should say, but you're gonna press on it. And then usually the last bit, you have to use a hammer and a ratchet or a socket. I'll show you here. So you can see how it's a little uneven there. So what you're gonna do is we're gonna take a socket and finish this up. So what I do is this. So because Colton didn't get it perfect there, we're gonna start around this edge here and we're gonna slowly come around. So you're gonna take the hammer there and slowly come around and keep working your way around. Once you guys have got the seal on, you wanna make sure it is flush. So you can see here, it doesn't sink down, it's flush the whole way around the ring. Now again, you wanna see that we are hitting it slowly the whole way around. Don't wanna tilt in anything and bend this down. You wanna make sure when you're doing this, you stay flush with it the whole way around. Now you have 6 10mm bolts. I believe those need to be at 80 inch-pounds. You can really just do this by hand, but you also need to put seal packing on it too. So for us, I'm gonna dump those bolts out. You need to put a 2 to 3mm wide bead of Toyota FIPG the whole way around this edge. So the whole way around this edge, you need 2 to 3mm. Now the bottom will go to the pan, so don't worry about that till you put the upper oil pan in. So you're only worrying about this seal part here. So again, 2 to 3mm is all you need. So guys, I'm putting this around right now. I am holding the back of this because for some ungodly reason, the back of the tube decided to burst open on us, which is not awesome. There's no like exact way of doing this either. I just want to make sure it's on there thick. I don't want it to leak. And I'm just trying to go the whole way around right now. Last thing I wanted to do is this to leak. And yes, this is Toyota sealant because I figured Toyota did it right from the start, so keep using their stuff. I might put a little bit more here just because if it squirts out some, it's not gonna hurt nothing. But that should be good. Now we're gonna put it on. Yep, so take it up, and then we have a bolt in it right there. Yep, and then just try to get around that edge and there you go. Sorry, I'm gonna turn the light off, guys, because it's too hard to even. Looking good to me. Yep, and then he's just going to pop it on. Okay guys, so if you look down here, you're gonna see that the actual cover is on now. You can see how it's flush. It goes to 78 inch-pounds. which is like 7 foot-pounds. Honestly, we cranked it by hand, as tight as, not as tight as we could get it, but just getting it snug, because if you go too tight, then actually this won't seal properly. But that's in. A little bit more of a pain in the butt than we thought it was going to be, but it is what it is. When you go to get that, there's 2 pins in there that align it. There's 2 pins there, you gotta get it on. The lip itself kept wanting to curl back, and we had to be careful, so you have to make sure the lip around that goes around the outside of the crank. Just be careful. The next thing we're gonna do is actually the oil pump itself. So we've got this part number here. So this is your oil pump seal. That is your part number there. Again, you guys can screenshot this. So what you're gonna do here, some people put oil and grease. I don't like to, because I want this in there as tight as can. So you wanna line this up, and I'm just gonna start pressing it in by finger, and it won't even sit in there. So what I'm gonna do is get it like that. Get it in there as flat as I can, and again, just like the other one, you're gonna beat this down until it's flush with the metal surface. So I'm gonna get a hammer here and start beating this in. I don't have a socket that ideally you want a socket that's this big or something that's this big to actually press this in. What I do is just start off with the hammer itself. Oh, come on. Man, this one does not want to go in. I haven't had much luck at all today. There we go. There we go. Now it's starting to go in. And again, you want to make sure it just stays flush with that surface then, guys. Okay guys, so what I'm going to show you here, Colton's holding the camera here, you can see that this is nice and flush the whole way around here now. Make sure that's flush with the face of the actual pump itself. Now some people port these, you can take this cover off and port it. I highly recommend you do not. Only thing I would recommend if you want to, shouldn't say recommend, if you want to, you can take the cover off, clean it out. People have reported there's metal shavings in there. I've never had that problem personally, so I'm not going to. The other thing I do though, is I use assembly lube or oil around this lip, so when it does start up, it's not dry. What you're gonna do next is, on this side here, you need to run a bead the whole way up and around this, so I'll show you guys how to do it. You're gonna run this bead up and around and follow these grooves. Again, it's 2 to 3 millimeters in these area. Obviously, you're going to double it up. I don't know why it's squirting right crazy right now, but it is. So again, guys, you just want to come around this. Again, it says 2 to 3 millimeters. You don't want to go too crazy, but just want to make sure I got plenty around here, because the last thing you want to do is have a leak from your oil pump area. That would suck. I've personally never had that issue, but I don't want to start learning anytime soon. And again, you can see some areas where I went a little crazy, but it won't hurt it. Make sure we got it there. I need to get a power gun. This would make this even easier than trying to do this by hand, but you guys get the point. Go here. I'm going to come back through that area, so don't worry. Again, stop there, and then come here, because this is where your oil comes through. Again, not perfect, but not horrible either. All right, so now what you're gonna do is take this, and we're gonna crank down these bolts here, and I'll show you here. But if you walk over here with me, we're gonna take this guy here, slip it on, and I wanna show you guys there's guide pins here, and there's a guide pin over here too, and they line up with your crankshaft. I just got it on my hand because I'm a dingus, but you put this on, take your time. It doesn't have to go on like crazy. We use those guide pins to help line you up. Oops, there we go. Once it's on, like so. Now we gotta put our bolts on. All right guys, so I've got my digital torque wrench here. We've got it set to 15 foot-pounds. All these bolts need to be cranked to 15 foot-pounds, so I'll start with this bottom one here. And again, ideally what you want to do is crank these down a little bit more. I didn't do so, so I have to use my torque wrench. There you go. So you hear a beep? 15. 15. This one here is a little bit harder to get to. All right. This one's got a lot to go. Ideally, you wouldn't want to do this through the torque wrench either, but pretty cool how this works too. So it's got a little red light there indicating, telling you you're getting close, and green means you're done. So pretty cool little piece, but these are all down to 15 foot-pounds. We've got that cranked on now, so makes me happy. This is a GT pump, so if you wanted to, we could run the trigger directly off of the cam gear and stuff, so we do have that luxury. So yeah, it's on now. Okay guys, now for this part here, this is a 2JZ GE water pump. We use a GTE, the twin turbo oil pump, okay? But we're using the GE water pump. Why is that? Because we're still using a GE head. The water neck and stuff that goes into it's different. On a GTE, you would see a bung here that would come off of it, and I, on my car, weld them shut that go to the twin turbos. You don't have to worry about it on these. We bought a genuine Toyota water pump here. Now, when we did remove it, there's 2 centering bolts. Can you see that here? It has a little bevel. You need to reuse these centering bolts. This is what actually centers up the pump itself. So there's 2 holes specific for that, and you can see they're slightly oblonged. So if I put it in there, that goes in there. And then the other one goes here. So let's go ahead and put this on first. Another thing I want to show you, if you come over here, there is another O-ring that you can put in here. Again, guys, I don't have those part numbers off the top of my head, but just remember, you need to remember that you have a O-ring here. So what we're going to do is put the pump up to it here, and oops, make sure we got the right one. I have the right hole. So put it up here. I believe it goes here, and I'll double check the book for y'all. Okay guys, so again, you want to put your centering bolts here and then one here at the bottom. So these are what center the actual pump up itself. Then after that, you have 4 number 6 or 9 bolts, whichever way you look at it. You have 4 of these you need to put in. So they'll go in here and here. And again, we'll crank these down. I'll give you guys the correct torque spec here in a second for these. And there we go. Make sure that goes in, and there we go. All right guys, for the water pump again, we're setting the digital torque wrench here, 15 foot-pounds. So come here to the first one if you want to come over this side, Colton. Sorry, we got stuff in the way, but come here and man, this thing, there we go. There we go. That one there is scaring me a little bit because it was like, it was reaching it and then like getting stuck at 14.5 foot-pounds and like. And then bottom one here. Oh, I might have to come this side here. Do this upside down real quick. There you go. 15 foot-pounds, cranked down, ready to go.